Good morning, everyone. Today is day 15 of 21 days to unraveling the ego's grip. And it's really interesting. In some ways, it can seem sort of hard to talk about anything else given so many things that are going on in the world. And yet, I do believe it's all necessary and very revealing and really important. And I totally believe there's a huge upside that can come out of this. But I wanted to talk this morning about this idea of being accomplished and how this thought got stimulated. This when I posted the thing about my book that's coming out, a guy who's been like my brother my whole life. He was raised with my sister and I. My mom had 5 boys. She got 4 girls. My dad prayed to St. Christopher when he was in World War II in the Korean War that if he brought him home safely, he would name his first son Christopher, and he never had a boy. My parents never had boys. They had 4 girls. But he was like our brother. And so he was raised kind of right alongside of us. He was over at our house so much. And hey, Kirsty, happy to see you here. And he made the sweetest comment when I posted the thing about my book. I'm so proud of you and all that you've accomplished. And I thought about that and I thought, God, I have such a different feeling about that now. And not all that long ago, I was very hooked into and tied into being accomplished. Being accomplished. Because that's what our world, that's what the culture, that's the society, it's what society tells us that we should want or desire, to be this accomplished person. And to me, that might mean different things for different people, but in the world I've grown up in, it's, you know, it's all exterior. It's what you do. It's what you've produced. And I want to say a couple things. For anyone that's ever had an idea, about writing a book or doing anything, this idea for this book came to me almost a decade ago. And I remember reading Liz Gilbert's book, Big Magic. And in the book, she said, ideas come and go, and if you don't jump on them, they're going to move. Basically, I'm paraphrasing. They're going to move to somebody else. And I remember I was like, no, I'm going to take exception to that. No, that's not true. That's not going to be my reality. This idea came to me because I just believe it's important. And I believe it's important for people to understand and let all who need it find it. So I really was like, no, that's bullshit. That's not going to be the truth for me. And no one has your unique personality, your unique take on things. No one does. So if you ever find yourself going, oh, if I don't jump on this, if I don't accomplish this now, if I don't do this now, it's going to go to someone else. That's a limited universe. That's a concept of the ego, that an idea comes to you, and if you don't jump all over it, it's going to go to somebody else. It's like, no, that's bullshit. That's part of even like our law of attraction culture, our new age culture. If it's going to be, it's up to me. I've even been listening recently to Matt Kahn, who's written different books. Whatever is, love that. Everything's here to help you. And I've been thinking about this idea of what if, thoughts are things. Well, what if, okay, there's energy in thoughts, and I do believe that, but what if really things that happen are there? It's not like we don't have control over them. We can't stop them. They're coming into being, again, always for our awakening, never for our punishment. And then I hear Matt Kahn talking about thoughts, and like, what if thoughts really have this collective thoughts, all these things come. And I'm not remembering it exactly, so if you want to hear it, I'll find it. But he's basically talking about a different way to see thoughts. And I'm loving that I'm having these thoughts and then I'm finding this sort of supporting material. And I invite you to just don't even listen to me if you're like, she's full of shit, or whatever you think. Trust yourself. I'm offering a perspective, but this idea of like, God, we are what we've accomplished. And when I read that and when he said that, I thought, oh my God, I loved the post, but I was really struggling with it because I know I love him. He's like my family, and I know what he's meaning, but I was like, I don't care about that now. It's really interesting. And this other thing I want to tell you, I was invited to be on this summit, and this is hilarious. And I love the woman that's doing it, Lori Kirstein. She's wonderful. She's so authentic. And we had this conversation, and in a lot of summits, your list size, your email list, it's got to be huge for you to be invited. I don't have a huge email list. I don't. Maybe 3,000. I don't have a huge email list. I worked with a coach who was very well known, but did not have a huge list. And I told her that. I'm like, you need to know this up front. I don't have this huge epic list that everybody's wanting. And she's like, I don't care. I really like you. And she goes, I like what you have to say. So I think we have no idea what can come into being and what can change for us if we kind of let go of this idea, like I've got to be accomplished. And even like when he said that about my book, it was an accomplishment from this standpoint. Writing it was easy. Writing it happened in 10 weeks. The editing process, so where are the forks? Stick forks in me. I'm so I'm so done. Like that definitely was, you talk about like motivated. Everything that I talk about, doing it through inspiration, the writing it came through inspiration, the editing and all that, it's been such a journey. And I've really had to take deep breaths at time and be like, okay, I'm just going to trust the inspiration's going to come, and it's come when it's needed. And this has been a process. Like I said, the idea came to me 10 years ago. And I used to listen to people go, I wrote and published a book in 10 weeks. I'm like, what? If I had let all that take me out, I would have never put this out there. So it's just near and dear to my heart now because I grappled with and grasped for accomplishments and all of this stuff. And I'm like, it just doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. If you have a message, if you have something that you want people to hear, like, just put it out there. I feel such emotion about this because I was so tied to the culture for so long and so like, I've got to be a successful person. Like, what the fuck does that even mean, really? And isn't a successful person someone who is kind to other people? Does it have to be, I've got to write 6 books, I've got to have 72 doctorates, I've got to have 87 letters behind my name? There is nothing wrong with any of that. But it's like, what's my intention for doing it? And mine sucked. Mine was just like this pushing energy of, I've got to do like and accomplish and be something people tell me that I should be. And I'm just like, it's insanity. For me, it's insanity. And again, if you want to go get your doctorate, I have a dear friend who's got a doctorate, and she did it out of complete inspiration, and she's a wonderful human being. If you want to do any of that, if you're called forward to do it, absolutely follow that and do it. And I would just ask you to consider, who am I doing this for? Why am I doing this? Am I doing this to please some culture that tells me this is what's going to mean I have value? And one last thing, and then we'll tap. I think I said this on videos before, I would never do these videos live if I was not primed before, ever. Ever. I was like, I can't do a video today. And now I'm like, this is it, guys, ladies, this is it. I'm like, I don't care. It's like when there's something to say, it's there to say. And so, anyway, I'm like kind of like over the river and through the woods here, but Kirsty, Fiona, Linda, I just there's a big need to accomplish in my family, right, Fiona? And when you have that being accomplished in your family, and you feel that pressure, and it's not in you to do it, it's like, oh my God. I was just, okay, another thing. I was watching a bit of a documentary last night before I went to bed. Maiden Voyage, I think's the name of it. A young Dutch gal, Laura Decker. She was 13 when she wanted to sail around the world solo. There's nothing in any fiber of my being that would ever want to do that. First of all, there's creatures in the water that, unless I'm like scuba diving, I'm not interested in running into them. It's a wilderness experience. That's it. I was in awe of this gal. And this is what I noticed about her. She didn't care about fame. She didn't care about the notoriety. She did it for her. They went to court. They almost tried to take her from her father and her mother, like emancipate her, because the stuff that was said was, she's insane, she's crazy. One even comment was, I hope she sinks. She's 13. I hope she sinks. Like, she's that much of a lunatic. This is a kid that just grew up on a boat. From the time she was born till 5 years old, it was in her being. Once she got out on the ocean by herself, they finally gave her permission. The government gave her permission to go out and sail on her own. And she got out there and she had moments. She was like, kind of like, oh shit, what did I think this was a good idea for? She was 14 when she's about to turn 15 when she started sailing. Hit her 16th birthday. She was gone for 2 years. And I was like, she was like, I don't care about any of that. She would have these interviews, and she got so intolerant of the interviews because she's like, I just want to be by myself on the boat. So anyway, I know I'm going on, which I can do, but this whole idea of being accomplished, it's really interesting. And it's like question everything. And if accomplishments in the worldly way we talk about them, because you're following something that you're called to do, that is wonderful. But if you are pressuring and pushing yourself, thinking that you're less than, telling yourself that somehow you're not as worthy if you're not accomplished, I just invite you to consider that's a concept of the ego, and it's a pretty interesting detoxification process because we live in a culture that promotes it at every turn. And if you're not a part of that culture, you might feel like, what's wrong with me? So anyway, on this day, let's tap. Karate chop. Even though I have a family who has a huge need for accomplishment, I grew up in a culture that I'm faced with the idea of being accomplished at every turn. I choose to honor I feel this way now. Even though I need to be accomplished to be worthwhile, to show that I have value. Is that even true? I choose to honor my feelings now. Even though I have to be accomplished to have value. Is that even true? I choose to question these thoughts right now. Accomplishment. Being accomplished. I learn to believe that in order to have value, I need to be an accomplished person. Is that even true? Is the force of love that created this universe hell-bent on me being accomplished? And what does accomplished mean anyway? Is smiling at a stranger enough? Is following my own inner voice enough? And isn't that a huge accomplishment? To learn to listen to my own voice in spite of everything the world throws at me. Now that might just be an accomplishment. To honor and listen to myself. My own authentic self. In the face of all the pressure, all the pushing, all the accomplishing that I see put out there in this world. If that's not an accomplishment, to follow my authentic self in this world, I'm not sure what else is. And take a breath. So, more talk than tap. That's kind of how this rolls. But if this, that's what I should call this, more talk than tap. Thank you all for being here. And I am always like, God, I don't want to say names wrong. I have an issue about that. Kirsty, Fiona, Linda, is it Neelam? And I hope I say that right. It's a beautiful name, but I have a feeling I'm not quite saying that right. So I just wish you all well. And I wish you that the greatest accomplishment that you have in your lifetime is to find and listen to your authentic self amidst all the voices that tell you who you should be, how you should look, what you should have accomplished in your life, and that you find what's true for you. So take good care of yourself, and we'll see you back here tomorrow with day 15. Bye for now.